We're now going to a different story called Transatlantic Lycans. Although the indigenous people of the New World had their own canine human traditions, European versions still made it across the Atlantic with generations of immigrants. From France came one of the earliest Lycan arrivals, the loup-garou, which showed up in the early Great Lakes settlements of Green Bay and Detroit. Detroit, settled by traders, trappers, and French military and Jesuits, was founded in 1701, just 9 years after the Livonian trial of the suspected werewolf Thies. The settlement of Green Bay, Wisconsin, was established even earlier in the 1600s. It's no wonder then that the future state capital of Michigan and the eventual home of the Green Bay Packers were both once rife with rumors that werewolves prowled their Great Lake shores. Okay, this just brings me to some modern day stories of paranormal encounters that people are experiencing when they're hiking or camping or something. So I see another similarity. Some typical, if fanciful, tales of Detroit and Green Bay include uh, first one, a French trader known for cheating on his payments for furs was beset one night by a group of Detroit forest witches who had decided to punish the scoundrel. A werewolf joined the fray and jumped on the trader's back, causing the trader's rosary to drop to the ground. Man, this reminds me again of the one of the RPG or fantasy role play games where you can lead not just one character but a group of characters, and you can choose their beastly races to be. So what if you had like a shaman and then you had a werewolf? This just reminds me of that. The holy beads forced the werewolf to plunge into the ground. Later, a sulfur spring called Belle Fontaine bubbled out of that spot. That's super creepy. Second story is that a werewolf kidnapped a young bride named Archange Simone from her wedding feast. This sparked a fierce wolf hunt. While the groom went mad with grief, his companions managed to at least sever the werewolf's tail before it jumped into a river and was eaten by a catfish. Okay, that doesn't sound very credible. Unless the catfish was side of the whale or whatever swallowed Jonah, I don't buy this. Area tribal people claim to have that tail, and many members of the tribe refuse to eat catfish to this day. Okay. Another story says that early Detroiter Jacques Morand became a werewolf to gain power to snatch away a woman he loved who had entered a convent. He followed her to a shrine to the Virgin Mary at Grosse Pointe one day and made his move as she stood in prayer in front of a beautiful sculpture. But just as he sprang at her, she happened to drop to the floor in worship, and the luckless Morand was turned into a stone statue in mid-leap by the holiness of the Virgin Mary's carved face. Again, I'm suspicious when it comes to this story. It's a cool story, but I don't know. And the last one is in Old Gray Bay, Wisconsin. Many horse barns were believed inhabited by Lycans, mischievous elf-like beings, each with a single large eye and wearing a pointed hat. Maybe they just lack some good fashion. Like, we don't know. We can't judge them, right? But according to some old tales, Lycans could also assume other shapes, especially horses. The lubin, a derivation of lutin, is a similar creature of Normandy that may appear as a wolf and that haunts churchyards. It should be scared of churchyards, not to haunt them, but whatever. In southern states such as Louisiana, the French derived Cahoon, I hope I'm pronouncing this properly, dialect, so Cahoon dialect turned loup-garou to rougarou. Man, this is fascinating. We all know about the rougarou myth slash legend, or similar variations, but all still refer to an upright, wool-headed creature. I like this, Rugaru. It was actually said to skulk around swamps, those liminal waterways that keep popping up as favored habitats of unknown creatures. France was not the only country to export its monsters. So France and some other European countries were exporting their monsters. Well, not my country, so thank you so much. German immigrants came a bit later to the states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, but were no better than the French at leaving their hobgoblins behind. One good example is that of the spook wolves of Potter County, Pennsylvania, discussed in chapter 9. Okay, this is chapter 3 or 4, so this comes later. German settlers and an immigrant subset called the Pennsylvania Dutch brought traditions of the Warwolf, so it's spelled with W-A-R, Warwolf. They also feared the shape-shifting Aufhocker, I don't know, it's a German word, whose name comes from a verb meaning to leap upon, described in Jonathan Maberry's Vampire Universe as a hulking brute that walks on its hind legs, so on its back legs. The Aufhocker may also appear in other forms, and it hangs out at crossroads, another typically haunted location. Man, this is interesting because in some Eastern European traditions, evil things, demonic, satanic things happen late at night, so after midnight to until the sunrise at the crossroads. Many satanic rituals were performed at the crossroads. Why? I don't know, but this is interesting.